So when I was down at Summit Racing on one of my shopping trips, I got these valve cover hold downs. Kind of bought them on a quick decision because they were in the line where you stand to get waited on next. And I picked them up because I had ones on there, but they're kind of beat up. The wing nuts are loose on a couple of them and stuff like that. But now as I go to see about putting these on, I'm not going to even open the package, but I hope you can see through the package. Look at the difference in the length of the threaded part of that hold down. It's probably at least 1/4 of an inch. And I need it to go through my valve cover, which isn't very thick, but also my valve cover gasket, which is pretty thick because of the type I bought. Plus I bought these accessories to spread the pressure on the valve cover. So those need to go through there, and you're getting pretty close with the longer ones, so I'm going to have to send those other ones back because in addition to going through all that, I have a spark plug wire loom that's going to add another 1/8 of an inch. So these are even going to be starting to get pretty close when I get all of that on. So I'm going to have to go back to Summit. I've got to make another trip anyways. I'm about ready to buy my battery and a couple other various things. But in the meantime, I'm going to have to put them back on with these old, longer hold downs and or just 1/4 inch bolts. But I had not put these valve covers on very tight. I just wanted to cover the rocker arms for the winter. See, here's one that I don't even have a wing nut on it. Those are the wires for the sniper fuel injection. Get those out of the way. And then it'll be interesting to see how close these valve covers are to that dipstick tube for the transmission. I should be able to get it off. I don't know if I'm turning that. I'll tell with the gloves on. I'm going to have to get something to grab that with. That's not coming off by hand. Pair of pliers to rotate that. I'm going to put this one down on the bottom so it's easier to reach. Now the reason it doesn't have a wing on it, wing nut on the top of it, is with the stock air conditioner compressor, there was no room. So take this off. I had gaskets from the Velcro kit for the engine, so I just put them on there. See if I can get this one on. I thought about, to make this easier, I thought about just cutting some all thread and getting it that one that comes off, making 4 studs to slip that gasket onto. Now that I see what I'm actually doing with, I'm not sure whether that's going to be a good idea, because if I put studs there, I may not have enough room to get the valve cover on with that dipstick tube in the way. Lining these up is going to be fun, and then I'm going to have to take them off because I'll want new ones. Okay, those are pretty well lined up. Now I want to get one of these to spread that. Down in there. This is going to be a long, tedious process. Lining up the gasket with the bolt hole and the valve cover using a pick. Trying to get these things in. So far I've got 0 on. That may not even be long enough with that. That's kind of crazy. see if I can work on one in the front that's easier to see. With all the stuff I want to put on there, I may have to just go with regular bolts because they might need to be long. I'm just going to try that without the wire loom just to verify whether I can even get it started. That's pretty much hitting the hole down. Without the hole down, it goes right in. So now I know what the problem is. I need about at least a ½ inch longer threaded portion than what's on these. So the ones that I had bought won't even come close. This does thread in. This threads in, and that looks to be about maybe 3/4 inch. It does thread in easily without the fold down. So that is correct. It's 3/4 inch. Let's see if I can. I'm trying to reach over the camera, and I don't know if you can see that on the camera or not, but so I'm thinking like 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches would probably be better. So 1.5 inch bolt or a hold down before I can do that. My plan today was to put the spark plug wires on, and I guess I'm gonna forget about that because without being able to hold everything down, I'll just have spark plugs in my way, I think, when I'm trying to put the valve covers on. Let me think about that. This may or may not be the end of this video. So there's a tool that you can buy. I don't own one, but it chucks into a drill, and it's just a kind of V-shaped thing that grinds the edges off of this. You can see there's a bit of a piece left on there that's a little ragged. So what I've been doing is just taking my grinding cutoff wheel, a little bit. And then taking the nut off. Been working really nice for me. Helps it thread in a little bit cleaner. So I will continue to do those till I get all 8 of them done. Sometimes these things are a little bit difficult to get out, so I'm going to show you just a little trick on how to do that. And it's because of the burrs on the end when you cut it. If you run into that situation, you take 2 nuts, put them on there, put them up against each other, and then tighten them against each other. Then you can turn the bottom one and just turn it out. That was stuck. I should have showed you that, but once it's out, threads very easily back in. Then you just grab a hold of the 2 nuts here with 2 wrenches, hold the bottom one, loosen the top, they come right off. So that's number 7. Got 1 more to make. And I couldn't get the nut off of this one either, so I'll be doing that same trick. With the longer piece. Put it in the vise this way. And I'll put 2 nuts on the end, tighten them up against each other, and then loosen the one that's closest to the part I'm trying to get out. I've been putting 2 bolts on the rod, that part that's going in the vise. The advantage to doing that is I can put them in as long as they're not up to the mark I'm trying to hit. And then to fine tune the length, I can just turn it in or out. And my length is fine tuned. I didn't get that quite level. If you don't have it quite level, it tends to give you a crooked cut. But that's basically what I've been doing for all of these. That one's just being cleaned up for future use because I don't need it. And then this one, I'll clean up. Probably not going to come off easily, so I resort to my little trick of putting 2 on. Put that in the vise, tighten those 2 up against each other. bottom one out. And I always test it again to make sure that I can thread it in again. When you line it up right, it goes in. So that's the 8th one. I'll be heading over to the engine to start inserting them in the heads. See you over at the engine once I get the camera set up. So I'm going to put just a touch of RTV on each one of these studs. Not much at all. Just enough to keep it sealed into the head whenever you take the bolts off. I might have to find a better way to put these in because it's slipping in my hand. Might have to use that trick with 2 nuts on the top here. So that I can turn it in. Won't take much effort, but it's going to be a lot quicker if I can grip it better. Let me get set up with a couple nuts on the top of this so I can turn it in easily. I'm going to try this without even tightening them with a wrench, because I just need to have something I can grip it better with. Yeah, that went a lot easier. And those are just finger tight on there. may need the wrench to loosen them, even though I just tightened it by finger tight. Well, that's the idea there. Get that RTV off of there. That's all I'm going to do is just put these on that way. Yep, I might have to use wrench on them. Okay, I'm just going to show what I'm doing here. Getting the wrench on there. Tighten it down a little bit to lock it so that I can handle it easier. That's one to go in there cockeyed. Once I get this done, it's going to be good. But I've got to be careful that I don't screw it up. In the process. Okay, that's going in now. I can just tighten that down. So it's going to be a little bit longer process than I envisioned because they're not going in quite as smoothly as the machined ones, but it's going to get me what I want in the end. That's threading down onto the bolt now. That might be it. And you just loosen them up, they come off. Unless you accidentally wind them up against each other again. So there's a stud installed. This one's already installed. I'll take those out. I'll put the other two in. Make sure they're bottomed out. And then we'll assemble the rest of the stuff. Okay, there we have it. 4 studs are installed. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's kind of a lot of work to do that, but here's the payoff. You put the gasket down on it, it stays in place while you go get the valve cover. Valve cover goes right on. You're not trying to line up those holes. your hold down clamps go right on. You're not trying to hold a bolt, a hold down clamp. Gasket, a valve cover, and get them all lined up. And your hold down clamps. You don't have to be a moose about these because, especially with stamped steel valve covers, you don't want to bend the things, because if you bend them, then you'll have trouble, especially with a traditional gasket. Oops, I'm putting that on too soon because I need a wire loom under that. Spark plug wire loom. Okay, this one might be somewhat of an issue that I didn't anticipate. Yep. That darn dipstick tube is just being a problem on everything. It's interfering with the breather tube. It's interfering with these hold downs. It's just not a good situation. Wish that thing were bent up further. I may have to take the T off of this in order to get it to go in. Looks like it probably has to be cut off. Well, while I ponder that, I'm going to go get the spark plug wire loom. Again, that goes right on. You don't have to try and hold a bunch of stuff in place while you're tightening these. I have to do something about that one though. These threaded into the hold downs a lot easier than they threaded down into the head. I could loosen up that dipstick tube. Now it's easy to do, but I really don't want to have to loosen this down here, get under the car, just take the valve cover off. That's, I don't know if you could see where I was pointing to. The dipstick tube is attached right here. I wonder if there's a 1 inch shorter version of this, because that would cure my problem. These are 5 inches. 4 inches would cure the problem, especially on that one. Oh well, I will let you know how I address that. Okay, what I decided for now is that there's no reason I can't just put a nut on top of the stud back in here and tighten that down. That will hold it on well. So with that being a viable solution, I'm going to sacrifice one of these and try to push this rod out of here, because if I can push that rod out of there and tighten it down and then reinsert the rod, I might be able to make it look halfway as decent or halfway similar to the other three. At least for looks. So that's what my plan is going to be. Worst case, I'll have a nut on one and these fancy hold downs on all the others. On the other side, there's nothing to interfere with any of the hold downs, so I'm not going to video that. I'm just going to insert the studs like I did on this side, put the gasket on, the valve cover, the spreader bars, and the one spark plug wire loom. And unless there's any issues, you can just assume that I went through the similar process I did here and got it done. Okay, those studs are finally all in. It honestly was a struggle. For some reason, I could thread the nuts onto the studs I created. I could thread the studs that came out of the original hold downs in to the heads, and I could do basically anything except thread the studs I made into the head easily. So it took a while, but I finally got them all in. Not a real problem anymore, because they should stay in there whenever the valve cover comes off. But again, worth the effort, in my opinion, to just be able to take all of these pieces and put them over the studs so easily. piece of the spark plug wire loom. That will, like before, these go onto the studs I made pretty easily. Now I did notice that even with the studs that came with these hold downs, they were a little harder to get in than you would expect. So now, if you've been following along, you know about my alternator issue where I might have to take the valve cover off to put the belt on the alternator. And basically now that I've taken the time and made the effort to put these studs in, at least taking the valve cover off will be easy. The only thing I hope now is that I didn't make these studs too long, because they should be bottomed out in the head but not in these hold downs. So hopefully that worked as planned. So they're nice and snug. It looks like they're good. I hope they are, because it would be a big chore to cut them down if they're too long, if they're bottoming out for some reason in both the head and the hold down bolt. That could be an issue. But like I said, I made them about 1/4 of an inch short, so they should be good. Especially these that have the extra hold down. Or spark plug wire loom on it. Those should be definitely short enough that they're not bottomed out. So that's it. I have 3 minutes left on my battery. That's all I'm going to get done today. So the next video will be putting the spark plug wires on and put them through those looms. Thanks for watching. So I have that last hold down for the valve cover in there, and I have a deep socket that's accepting the shaft from the hold down, and I'm able to push it. I don't know if I can get it all the way out, and I don't know whether I'll be able to get it back in, but it seemed to go pretty good so far. Took putting it in the vise and a little bit of prying on it, but I'm getting that out. I don't know if I can do it. Video it and work with one hand or not. At any rate, that's what I'm trying to do between that and this hole under the other side. Prying it straight up. Already put the tripod away, so I'm not going to get that out, but just basically using these 2 screwdrivers as levers. I'm going to pry that off, and then I'll be able to put it down in there and get the valve cover tightened, and maybe I'll be able to insert that shaft back through to make it look good. Okay, I got it out, and I got the camera back out on the tripod. I'll try to zoom in. There's the stud I couldn't get on because of the dipstick tube for the transmission. So now I can thread this on. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, and the side that I push through actually will go into this hole. Find the hole. And I can turn it like this. And then what I'm going to try to do is, once I've tightened that all the way, I'll try to push this in far enough so that it stays in there and looks somewhat similar to the rest. Put my vent tube back on there so that in case I drop this, it won't go into the valve cover. But I think I probably will be able to do something similar to what I did over there, put a socket on the other side of it to push it into, and maybe use vice grips or clamp of some sort to dry it in. Really low on battery, so I'm going to shut this off while I'm doing these little half turns and come back once I'm ready to try to push this back in. Okay, this is working. I already tried it a little bit because of the shortage of the battery, but I have a socket on this end. Just grabbing this with the vice grips and squeezing. And now I can't squeeze it any further. There it is. Pretty respectable, if you ask me, considering what I had to go through. But now I know that I can get that out the same way. Sure hope that was in the picture. We'll find out whenever I go and try and edit it. It may not have been. Okay, I'm going to show you again. Right there, you can see the. Now, let's move this, get a different, slightly different angle on it. Right there. Basically had a socket over here, vice grips on this end and on the socket, and just was able to squeeze it in. So I know that I'll be able to take it out the same way because it has been in and out a couple times now, so it should work. So that's it for this video. I'm being paged. Have a good day. Thanks for watching.